If your thighs feel so tight that it's difficult to bend your knee, you may even notice problems going up or downstairs because it just feels like the muscles on the front of your thighs are so tight and you can't seem to stretch them without hurting your knee. Then today's video is for you. Today's video, we're going to focus on how to properly stretch your quads, and we're going to give you a ton of different positions that will be safe for literally everybody. Not every stretch is going to be the best for your body, so we're going to give you a lot of different options. Try them out, figure out which one works best for your body, and then you can keep going with that one. I have a lot of people in my life, in the clinic, online, and in my family who simply don't know how to stretch their quads effectively. They have a lot of pain in the front of their thighs, either from working out or just from day-to-day life, and they don't know what to do because whenever they try to stretch their quads, it hurts their knees. And let me explain to you why that is. So you have the quads, which are four muscles, which are in the front of your thigh. So if you put your hand on your thigh, you're putting it on your quads. And those four muscles come together and they form the quadriceps tendon, which goes over the kneecap and then turns into the patellar tendon and attaches onto the tibia or the shin bone. Now, all of this is really important because when you're trying to stretch the muscle, the quad that's on your thigh, it is also going to stretch the tendon, which is the one that goes over your knee. And this is why so many people, when they're trying to stretch their muscle, or end up aggravating knee pain that they already have. I'm Dr. Amy, PhD trained in orthopedic manual physical therapy, and I believe that movement is life and you deserve both. Now I'm going to ask that you watch this video all the way till the end and then come back and try your favorite stretch, because although all stretches can be good, they may not be the best for your body. We're going to start off by discussing who should be stretching their quads, as well as who shouldn't be stretching their quads. And at the end, we're going to talk about how many reps and how many sets and all of that stuff. So please make sure to watch the video all the way to the end before going and trying your favorite stretch that we discussed here today. So who should be stretching their quads? Well, first off is anybody who has knee pain. If you have knee pain, you want to find a way to stretch your quads, but you have to do it pain-free, because if you're increasing your pain, that's not very motivating to keep stretching, right? That's why we're going to present you with several different options here today, as well as anybody who has thigh pain. So if you have pain that is in your thigh, so you can put your hand on your leg, that's your thigh. That means you have actual quad pain. So you do want to make sure that you stretch that muscle out. Now you do want to be careful when you're stretching. There's a difference between stretching pain, which is that feels good pain, and bad pain, or that reproduces my pain symptoms and I'm having a hard time breathing because it's so painful. But there's a third group of people that I hope are watching this, because it is really important for all of my athletes, and that includes my weekend warriors, to be stretching your quads. A lot of people will do exercise maybe on the weekends or even throughout the week, and they don't really spend a lot of time stretching. And although I admit that you can get away with that when you're in your 20s and 30s, as you start getting near 40, 50, and 60, that doesn't work anymore. You are gonna have to be stretching. So please continue watching this and start your stretching routine now if you haven't already, to make sure that your knees and your body stay healthy so you can continue doing the activities you love. Now, I do admit that there is a group of people who should not be stretching their quads. If you are suffering with instability in your knee, in that you feel like when you're walking, your knee literally moves around too much, then please do not stretch your quads, because chances are good that this is actually going to make your problem worse. If you have knee instability, and this can be either the knee cap itself is unstable or the knee joint further in, which that would be in between the femur or the thigh bone and the tibia and the shin bone. If that joint is unstable, it could be that your quads are actually tight because they are trying to stabilize that joint. So if that sounds like you're like, I feel like if I stretch my quads, my whole leg's gonna fall apart, then this is not for you. You do not want to be stretching your quads. What you want to be focused on is really getting that coordination of the knee joint, getting those ligaments to tighten up and support it so that then you can go back to your regular activities. So please, if your knee feels inherently unstable, do not try to be stretching your quads. Okay, to start off, we're going to start with the most gentle quad stretch. So this is the one that you want to do if your quads are really, really limited in their motion and you're having a really hard time being able to use more traditional methods. For you, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to get a stretch strap. I feel like these are really, really helpful because they have these loops in them that you can put your foot in, so it makes it a little bit easier. You could use something like a beach towel or a belt to help stretch your quads. That's fine. It's just going to be a little bit harder to loop over your foot. But if a stretch strap sounds like it would be good for you, I'm going to link the one that we're using today in the box below. Now, you might be able to do this on your bed if you're not able to get down to the floor easily, which a lot of people with quad tightness can't get down to the floor easily. So you can do this on your bed. I'm showing it here on the floor, but don't feel like you have to get on the floor in order to be able to do this, as long as you're on some surface that you can lay on comfortably. So you're going to take your stretch strap and you are going to put your foot through it. Then you're going to hold onto the ends while you lay down. And then the nice thing is you can just pull this up. So you're pulling your foot towards your bottom. Now, the great thing about the stretch strap is that if you don't have that same level of flexibility, you can have it further back here. You could even just do it with 1/2 of the stretch strap if you need to, as opposed to using both sides of it. But you're going to hold it here where you're feeling a good stretch in your quad. You're going to hang out for 10 seconds. And then you're going to release that stretch for you. Again, everybody's different, but I feel like this is in a relaxed position for my quad. So then I can stay here, hang out for 10 seconds, and then I'm going to do that stretch again. Now, you do want to be careful when you're in this position, because what we don't want to do is have this like huge arch in our low back. In general, that just doesn't feel good for people. It doesn't really affect your quad stretch. It does a little bit. I'm not super concerned about that aspect. I'm more concerned about the aspect that when you're here, this could cause a lot of pain in your low back. So if you're doing this on your bed, or even if you're doing this on the floor, it would be good to have a pillow so you could just rest your head down and be in that nice comfortable position while you're stretching that quad. Now, one thing that's really important to watch out for, and yes, I realize I'm putting myself in this position, but it's because I want to be able to see you when I talk to you about it. One thing I want you to watch out for is when you're stretching your quad, you want to make sure that your hip doesn't come up, because if your hip comes up, then you're not actually stretching your quad. Let me show you what that looks like. So you can see as I bring my foot closer to my bottom, if you have really, really tight quads, what will happen is that your hip will start coming up off the mat. And we don't want that, okay? We want to make sure that that hip stays firmly down on the mat while that foot comes closer to our bottom. So watch for that. Make sure you're not doing that. If you are, then you're pulling too hard on that foot. You need to decrease that. Now, starting laying on your stomach, as I just showed you, is my favorite way to start doing quad stretching because it is the safest for the rest of your body. But for some people, laying on their stomach is really inconvenient, or maybe turning their head to the side for that long is a problem because of neck issues or something like that. There is another way that you can do this, which I'm going to show you next. But with this way, the second way I'm going to show you here, we have to be really, really careful that we're keeping our body in a good position. You see, it's much easier to keep your body in a good position when you have full contact with the floor, but when you're laying on your side, which is what we're going to do next, it becomes a little bit more difficult. So just watch out for that. Okay, now if you're laying on your side, you can do it with the stretch strap or without. We'll show you both ways. If you're going to do it with the stretch strap, again, I'm going to have you put your foot in there. We're going to grab the two ends. We're going to lay on our side here. This is kind of nice because we can prop up our head here. And then the bottom knee, the one you're not stretching, is going to be bent a little bit forward just to help you maintain balance. Your hips are stacked one on top of the other, and this is really important. Your knee needs to be pointed down, because what can happen is you can try to stretch here, and then it's like, well, that's not getting me a stretch, right? So you need to make sure your knee is pointed straight down from your spine, and then you can pull that strap over your shoulder-ish and find that good stretch. You're going to hold for 10 seconds, and then you can release it, and then rest for 10 seconds. And you can do that a total of 3 times. So then you would come up, remember knees pointing down, hips are stacked on top of each other while you pull that foot towards your bottom with the stretch strap. Now, for some people, this is actually they have more motion than this, and it's actually more difficult to use a stretch strap with that. So if that's you, I'll just toss it away. And then what you can do is you can actually grab your foot with your hand. Again, you want to make sure that knee is pointed down, and you're going to pull that foot towards your bottom. Now, if this causes any problems with your shoulder, because some people, their shoulder will be forward and then they're like trying to reach back and it hurts, just tuck that shoulder blade back, and that usually helps get a nice little shoulder stretch along with your quad stretch, which that's amazing. And then you can hold for 10 seconds, and then you can just relax it down. Again, we want to make sure that we're doing this without any knee pain. So as you're pulling that foot towards your bottom, you're pointing that knee down, your hips are stacked on top of each other. Make sure that you're not causing any knee pain. If you start to notice anything over the knee, like over the kneecap, what you might need to do is decrease how close your foot is to your bottom, and then you may need to actually push that knee back a little bit more so you get into more of a ballerina type position. This will help to get more of the stretch up on the top part of the quad as opposed to the bottom part of the quad. Okay, so here's my favorite way to do a quad stretch because it is the most flexible and it's the easiest to be able to do. What you're going to do is make sure that you're holding on to something stable. It can be a kitchen counter or a chair or table, whatever, just something stable that you can balance with. And then you're going to do the same thing that we did in side lying, where you're going to grab that foot. You're going to bring it back behind you. Remember that trick of tucking that shoulder blade back behind you so you get a little bit of a shoulder stretch with it. Now this time you're going to try to bring your knees together. I can't completely touch my knees or else it's just too much of a stretch. That becomes a bad stretch as opposed to a good stretch. So I like to leave my knees a little bit apart, but if you need more stretch, bring your knees closer together. And then what you can do is you can bring that knee back behind you. So you're trying to put the knee, so my left knee is trying to go back behind my right knee. And that feels like a really good stretch. That's all the way through my quads right there. So you're gonna hold that for 10 seconds, then you'll relax. In most cases, I will go do the other side as I'm resting, because I'm gonna do one side and then the other. So I would just turn. Again, I'm gonna grab that foot, I'm gonna bring my knees closer together, bring that knee back behind me, open up my shoulder so I get that nice shoulder stretch too, and then hold that for 10 seconds. Then I would do that 3 times on each side. Now, some people have asked me, can I use the stretch strap while I'm in standing? And yes, you can. Some people that's a little bit too difficult, but hey, if you want to try it, you can. Here's what that looks like. Okay, so for this one, what I'm going to do most commonly is I'll actually put my foot in one of the further down loops. That way I've got a nice long stretch strap to work with. I'm going to bring that foot back behind me, bring that stretch strap over my shoulder, and now get in position, knees closer together, push that knee back, and now I can pull that stretch strap to get that foot up. So you can do it with a stretch strap. I feel like it's a little bit more difficult, but everybody is different, so do what works best for your body. Now, a lot of people ask me, what about the lunge stretch for the quadriceps? I'm going to be honest, this is not my favorite quad stretch. And the reason why is because a lot of people, when I see them doing it at the gym or I see them demonstrating it in the clinic, they're doing a lot of things with their low back that could potentially cause problems. And I understand that it may not hurt you now, but I really don't like it as a long-term solution. However, I will show you here, so at least I can give you some instruction on how I want you to do it if you are insistent that that is the best stretch for you. However, it's not my favorite. I would prefer for you to find one of the other stretches. Okay, if you're going to do the lunge stretch, I highly recommend having a little padding underneath the knee just to make it feel a little bit better. So we're going to put this underneath my knee. Then you're going to stretch forward with that front leg, trying to get through that really nice position. So you've got a lot of room here, and then we're protecting the left knee as well. I'm going to have you put your hands on your hips because I want your hips to stay in this forward position. So equal hips here. A lot of people, when I see them doing it, what they do is they end up opening up their hips. And that's when I get really concerned about what's going to happen with your pelvis long term with that stretch. The other concern I have is that there will be too much motion through the lumbar spine, the low back here. So when you're doing this, what I want you to do is keep that pelvis in alignment, and then you're going to lean forward through this. I'm leaning through my left knee until I feel that stretch through the quad. Then what you can do when you get into that position where you're starting to feel it, if you squeeze your glutes, now I've got the stretch through the quad, but I've also got it through that psoas up in here. So I'm adding in that psoas stretch. And then you hold it for 10 seconds, and then you can get out of it. Again, not my favorite stretch. I would really prefer that you try one of the others and see if you can still get a good stretch through your quads like that. So there's several different modifications of how you can do a safe for you quadricep stretch. With all of them, you're going to hold the stretch for 10 seconds. You're going to relax for 10 seconds and then hold again for 10 seconds. You're going to do 3 total stretches for 10 seconds each, making sure that you have a rest time of 10 seconds in between. Now, it's fine if you want to go from side to side. That's absolutely not a problem. That's usually what I'm doing when I'm stretching because I'm trying to kind of get through everything. But if you're using the strap and you're laying down or you're on your side, then it can be difficult to switch from side to side. So in that case, I would just stay doing that one stretch and then I would flip over to the other side or move the strap to the other leg. Another question that I get asked a lot in regards to stretching is, do you stretch before you do your activity? Do you stretch after your activity? When do you feel is the best time to stretch? Personally, I am a big fan of the European method, which is an active warm-up for any activity. So doing your activity actively, but not to full intensity to warm up. And then you can do your stretching once your muscles are warm. Now, for me, I usually go running in the morning, and it's pretty quickly after I've gotten out of bed. So I will do a walking warm-up before I run, and then I'll actually do my stretching after I go running in order to use all that warmth that I've circulated during the run in order to help get a better stretch. And I get it, this is controversial because you've probably been told for your entire life that you should actually stretch before you exercise. However, here's my thought on that. If you're stretching before you exercise, then you're getting your muscles all long and loose and less stable and not contracting as much, and then you're going out and potentially doing a really high intensity exercise. I feel like this can lead to injury. And it has actually been proven when they're looking at sports teams. If you don't believe me, go watch some European football. Now, another question I get asked is how frequently should you be stretching your quads? So you definitely want to do this on a daily basis because you want to keep track of what your quad tension is doing. Because for some people, particularly those who have a history of knee pain or hip pain or potentially even low back pain, their quad tension can vary greatly from day to day. And if you stretch your quads every day, then you notice how that tension changes from day to day, and you can see if those symptoms correlate with any of your other symptoms, which is a good thing because listening to your body can give you a lot of clues about what's going on. The important thing is to be consistent with your program. You won't necessarily see changes after 1 day or 1 week, but definitely if you've been doing this for a month or a couple months, you should feel that quad flexibility improving, and you'll be able to catch any warning signs if anything starts to go wrong. Listen, quad tightness is common, but not normal. Now, if you're wondering if your knee pain is actually coming from your quads or even from your knee originally, or you're thinking maybe it's coming from somewhere else, I'm going to have you check out this video over here to learn more about knee pain that's coming from somewhere else. Hey guys, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up and don't forget to click subscribe.